Well, good morning. Welcome to the Place and Resources Overview Committee of Thursday, the 22nd of April. We'll move straight into the agenda. Item 1, our apologies. Do we have any apologies, please?
Yes, Chairman, apologies from Councillors Ryan Hope and David Taylor.
Thank you. Item 2 on the agenda is the minutes. Can we confirm the minutes of the meeting held on the 25th of February and the 9th of March, which will be signed at a later date?
Yes, Chairman.
Thank you. Any dissent? We'll take that as given. Thank you. Item 3 is declarations of interest. Are there any declarations under the Code of Conduct? We should remind members that if they realise they have a declaration at any time during the meeting, please make us aware so that interest can be recorded. Thank you. Are there any declarations? I hear none. Thank you. Item 4 on the agenda is the chairman's update. I think I'll just briefly mention what I've already put onto our Teams site, the fact that we've looked at a number of policies and reviewed them over the last few weeks. Some constitutionally could have been signed off by the portfolio holder. He's added this extra layer where we've actually reviewed them as the chairman of the committee. The vast majority of the 10 we received were minor changes, such as deleting Dorset County Council and inserting Dorset Council. Those we determined would not need to come to any committee and went straight through to the new policy library. However, the couple we've got today, I think we've just used to give members a better understanding of how highways work generally and a bit of useful information about one particular matter that I know raises its head most years. And the other only thing to say is if I could just ask members of the committee to give their names and their ward they represent on the first time of speaking, please, that would be great. Thank you. Item 5 is public participation, and we have no questions or statements.
Chair, you have a request to speak, please.
Councillor Tarr.
Sorry, no, it's a later item. I've jumped ahead of myself.
All right, okay. Item 6 was questions from members, and again, we have no questions or statements. So the policy catch up, right? Okay, item 7 is our two main policies we're going to be looking at today. We have the portfolio holder, Councillor Ray Bryan, the director, John Selgren, and the reporting officer, Mike Westwood. We're looking at the A Board advertising signs policy and the highways improvement policies and procedures. Mike, are you there to give the report?
Yes, I'm here, Daryl.
Would you like to give a brief outline of the report, please?
No problems. These two particular policies, they're pre-existing policies from previous to LGR. We have made minor amendments to them to recognise changes to the council and changes to staff. Where am I? Beg pardon. Yes, they have been reviewed recently by the Highways and Transportation Board, but as Daryl mentioned earlier, these two were of particular interest to bring forward to this meeting. Developer, pardon. I've made some notes for myself, and I was trying to catch up with myself, and I realised I was on the wrong page. We have, when I was reviewing these earlier on, I did spot we had left some districts in, so we will need to remove those before they go forward. But as Dale pointed out, it has been agreed that once these two policies have been through yourselves, then they will be able to be signed off by the portfolio holder, Councillor Ray Bryan, and taken forward and stored into our policy library. The first of the two is the A-frame policy. This was a policy we put together a few years ago to try and ensure that we had a uniform approach to the enforcement of A-frames around the county, but also to give the staff involved in that enforcement guidance on how it could be done. The policy sets out how and what we will enforce in relation to A-frames, where the limitations are in the law. and also the legal processes we have to follow when we're enforcing those the A-frames. Obviously, we have limited resources to deal with all A-frames, so we always will prioritise ones at the highest risk. This has given sort of mixed results across the council. We do have some problem areas still. We are working on them, but yeah, like I said, we do emphasise on the ones with the highest risk and the highest danger. The other policy is the highways improvements policy. I've also invited a colleague along, Richard Colby, who deals closely with this area. He's joined us in case there are any questions around this policy. This policy sets out how improvement schemes are requested, prioritised and delivered. The sort of schemes involved or delivered through that policy are sort of new infrastructure such as cycleways, changes to junctions for safety reasons, sort of new sections of road where we bought the land and built a new road. What it doesn't include though is sort of maintenance work, including our sort of structural maintenance schemes that we deliver, and when new estate roads are built under section 38 or 278 of the Highways Act, they're covered in separate policies. I don't know if anyone wants me to share either of those two policies on the screen. Please let me know if you would like me to. But other than that, it's over to yourselves. Any questions?
Okay, thank you, Mike. I think what we do is take the A board advertising signs policy first with members, and we can ask questions on that. So we've got a couple of questions already. So we will start off with A boards. And Councillor Ty, you're first on the list.
I'm quite happy about A boards.
Right, fine. Okay, thank you. Councillor Jesperson, you have a question?
Yes, I have just a comment to make that's slightly more general. I'm very happy with A board. I'm a member of the Task and Finish group, the Highways Task and Finish group, and in this report there's reference to that these policies can go forward to the policy library, but they may need to be reviewed further in the future. And I thought it might be helpful. I'm not sure if Cherry Brooks is with us today, but it might be helpful just to mention the fact that one of the things, the discussions that we're having constantly, as it were, on the Highways Task and Finish group with regard to these policies is about the presentation of highways policies. Because some of them are written in a way that is not accessible to the layperson, and they're full of they're not written in plain English, in other words, and so because they're written for a specific purpose. So that's not a criticism, it's just a way we can improve. And some of them also are written so that we go straight in from the policy, we go straight into the technical specification. So the Highways Task and Finish group have asked that going forward over a period of time, because this is a big piece of work, we can have for each of our policies a sort of general statement of objectives, and then in part two, as it were, we then go on to the technical specification. So that the beginning of each policy states why we have a policy, what the objective of that policy is, how it's looked after and so forth. And then we separate out the technical specifications, some of which have to be very technical. So when we say that some of these will come back to be reviewed in the future, that's one of the things that we will be looking at. And I think you will agree that that will be a very useful piece of work that for Dorset Council to do, but acknowledging the fact that it will take time. It's not something we can do for all of our policies at a sitting. So I just thought that might be helpful, Mr. Chairman.
No, that's very helpful, Sherry. I think we need to get that uniform approach across all of our policies. I know that the document that especially heads the policy when it goes into the new library has all the information about review dates, and we need some sort of mechanism to make sure they're pulled forward at the right and appropriate time. So that's really good stuff. Thank you for that input.
Chair, we got Matthew Piles would like to speak.
Matthew.
Good morning, Chair. Sorry, it was just to reconfirm what Councillor Jesperson has just said. Yeah, we are looking at all of the current documents within highways, but also across planning and also transport and the other parts of the portfolio. So thank you for raising that, because it's quite important that we make it accessible and in plain English.
Thank you for that, Matthew. I thought we might have a few more questions about the A boards, because I know they've been quite a pain in a lot of councillors' lives over many years now. But again, I thought it was useful that members had the information and the way the advertising sign requirements. And we're looking at decent specification A boards on our streets, not tatty little things that stick up all over the place that we do see. So I think if we can actually enforce that sort of thing, then that's great going forward. If there are no other questions then on that one, we'll move forward to the second policy. So we can just move the screen down to the second policy, please. And again, the Highways Improvements Policy and Procedure. I know Roland's got a question, but I thought it was important to let members or make members aware of what we do, how these procedures are put in place, and of course the method that members can actually get stuff onto the forward programme. So, Councillor Tarr.
Well, my general comment is that I've dealt with Dorset Highways one way or another for 54 years, I think, and it's been an excellent service, and it's still an excellent service. I don't want to criticise it anyway. I would be much happier if we'd seen the whole list of policies rather than having a few sorted out for us. I think the Highways Improvement Policy and Procedure is excellent. But the topics which we discussed at our last meeting but one, relating to the whole speed limit operations and our general management of traffic in the villages, which I represent, that is a constant theme, and I think that should also be, as Sherry said for the previous items, kept under review, and we should get regular reports on progress in that direction, because all our neighbours like the New Forest and Bristol and places in Somerset are going for lower limits. It doesn't matter if the police doesn't enforce them. Lower limits mean lower speeds, and every mile an hour that we reduce the speeds on roads means that we reduce accidents. That does have cost implications. This report says there are no cost implications. It has massive cost implications for the hospital service in this country. Billions of pounds spent on repairing people after accidents. And we mustn't forget that most accidents are not actually reported to the police. It's only by the personal injury that's been involved. And a lot of accidents go unreported. So we should be looking at that aspect of things as well. That's all I had to say.
Yeah, thank you, Roland. I will respond to some of that, because initially you've got to remember that minor changes to policies are in the remit of the portfolio to sign off and actually put them back into the library. So this is an additional stage, which you've agreed with Ray Bryant, that we should look at these before they're actually put back in. So we're adding to, we're not taking away from the process or the constitution. The other issue is with the 20-mile-per-hour limit. I don't know whether you've looked at our forward plan, but we agreed at our last meeting that it would be reviewed, the 20-mile-per-hour limits, and it is on our forward plan to be reviewed.
Yeah.
So thank you for that.
Chair, you've got a request to speak from Councillor Jesperson, please, followed by Michael Westwood.
Councillor Jesperson.
Yes, I just wanted to come in and back up what Councillor Tarr was just saying about the whole question of 20-mile-an-hour speed limits and managing traffic in our residential communities. You're quite right, Mr. Chairman, this is for future review, and I think I've understood correctly that the Task and Finish Group, the Highways Task and Finish Group, is going to have a first crack at this. What I'd like to just put down a marker here while we have people listening is that I think Dorset Council needs to have a wider discussion, and the time is right to do that, that goes beyond just 20-mile-an-hour speed limits and whether we have speed limits or speed zones and those things, and have a wider discussion around the question of low traffic zones and how we're going to address the question that bedevils most of us councillors. Most of our residents, the single most important issue for them is they say to us that where they live doesn't feel safe or healthy because of the traffic. That's the nub of the thing. And we need to have a wider discussion, I think, about what we're going to do about that in the future. And it's much wider than just 20-mile-an-hour speed limits. And I would like to see Dorset Council, and I know that there are discussions going on among senior officers about this, I would like to see Dorset Council be really quite brave and innovative about this and say we will pioneer some approaches to traffic management and to safer communities in places in Dorset, and because some of this work is going on elsewhere in other councils, and I would really like it if we would be a pioneer council as well and do some of this work, and perhaps pick a couple of parts of one of our towns and a couple of villages and say, actually, we will try and see how these low traffic zones can be made to work for a rural county such as us. I know they have downsides. I know that they're not a panacea, but you know, I think that, and I would very much like the overview committee, if people agree with me, to send a message back to the portfolio holder and to the task and finish group that we would like to think big about this, not just tinker around the edges of our 20-mile-an-hour policies, but actually do something really quite brave.
Thank you, Cheryl. That's really, really interesting. And of course, Roland made the point earlier that the financial impact doesn't hit us, but it does hit other organisations and authorities. So just
Chair,
the portfolio holder and the lead member are both online, and the lead members asked to come in. So Cherry, if I take you before Mike Westwood, please.
Yes, please. And just to reiterate that this is not the 20-mile-an-hour policy that we're looking at this morning.
No.
But the 20-mile-an-hour issue is being the policy that the Department for Transport's own policy is being reviewed at the moment. So we're not going to, we've made a decision not to do anything about changing any of our policies until we know what the new policy is from the DFT, but it is on the radar. It will be looked at by the Highways and Transport Board, and it will come to you on your forward plan. Thank you.
That's great, Cherry. Thanks for that.
Would this be Ray, in some way in the meeting minutes?
Councillor Tarr, if you just wait to ask if you want to speak RTS in the chat bar, please. Councillor Bryan, do you want any input? Obviously, you've listened to Cherry. I think it's a good idea. We should be looking at larger areas of work. Any comments?
Yes, thank you, Chairman. Yes, this is probably one of the most crucial areas going forward that falls under things called health and safety. I'm very aware that we need to do something in some of the towns and villages where we do have a disregard for speed limits already. The difficulty is, in my conversations with the police, they are concerned as to how they can deal with it. Yeah. We can introduce a speed limit, but you know, we need to find a way of also it being enforced. And I am having conversations with Matt Piles and the police, you know, to try and find a way we can all work together. As far as the fumes from cars are concerned, obviously over a period of time these are going to disperse as we go to electric vehicles or hydrogen vehicles. So I'm pleased to say we will end up with cleaner air, long overdue. But where we have built up towns, this is a problem now, and anything we can do to help that, I promise you we will do. But I'm very happy to work with this committee on ways in which we can get this working properly.
Thank you, Ray. That's excellent. We have strayed from the agenda, but I'm actually quite happy to take this because it's good for what we do and good for the future of the council. Now, I lost.
Chair, you've got
Michael Westwood.
Michael Westwood was going to speak, and Matt Piles also wanted to come in there, so I'll leave
Michael,
you.
Mike, if you want to come in there first.
No problems. Yeah, I think a lot of what I was going to say has actually been covered already. But yeah, just to say, it was the first batch of policies. You know, unfortunately or fortunately, we'll be coming to you with several batches of policies. In this first batch of 10, it didn't include the speed limit one, but I am happy if it is appropriate to share the longer list with the group and the policies behind it.
No, that's fine, Mike. I actually did that on the Teams, our committee Teams page. So all that details there if members wish to read it. Matthew.
So if I may, Chair, this is an interesting conversation that I'm listening to. And for me, it's about how we shape our transport for the future. So if I may, if members would like to have a look at the current local transport plan, which is a shared plan with VCP, it sets out our key drivers for ambition. So I'm really pleased to come back to have a further discussion at some point, but we do have what we look at: supporting economic growth, tackling climate change, equality and opportunity for all our residents of Dorset, safety, security and health, which is the system part that Councillor Tara is referring to, and improving the quality of life for our residents of Dorset as well. And within that sets out our ambition. I think what we need to look at is refreshing the local transport plan of what Dorset Council wishes to be, Chair, and we can come back at a later date to have a discussion about that. But that's the strategy document that we need to look at.
Yeah, and I think that you've highlighted a good point, the fact that most members don't even know it's there. So it'd be worthwhile. I know I've spoke about the policy library many times, and it is boring, let's be honest. But when you dive into it, you can get some really interesting information and see basically how these policies fit together. So it's well worth a few hours in that library at some point in time.
And if I may, Chair, just to add, this is how we secure our funding for the future, both regionally and through government and through the initiatives that are coming up. And it's really important. I'm going to say the local transport plan isn't boring, but I would say that as Director of Transport. But it's key. It's key to everything that we're talking about today. So thank you.
No, totally agree. I did say the policy library was boring, not the individual policies within it. All right, the next speaker is Councillor Andrew Starr. Andrew.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, this has kind of moved on a bit from what we were talking about.
Yes, it has.
With the report, I noticed obviously there's an awful lot of stripping out of county and district councils in there. But I was very pleased to see that the rural roads policy is still active. It's something that one of these things that's favour of the month for a while, wasn't it? And it's still there. And I just in light of what we've been just recently talking about, I wonder if that runs contrary to any sort of a 20-mile-an-hour speed limit and being imposed or being adopted in villages. And I hope that we can bring the speed limit, bring the speeds down, but also without damaging the nature of the villages and the way they look. Thank you,
I think that there was always be conflicts between policies, but I think we need to look at that when we refresh that 20-mile per limit policy as we move forward. Thanks, Andrew.
Councillor Rowland Tarr, Chair, would like to speak.
Well, the first very brief point is I don't think it's relevant whether the police say they're going to enforce it or not. In areas I've been to where there is a 20-mile limit, people are keeping it. How they keep it, I don't know, but I think probably just the occasional police check, and the rumour going around the village or the town that the police are checking now and again, every 2 or 3 years, sometimes on particular streets, can sort that one out. I think I'd like to second everything that Matthew Pars has just said about the policy, and I would like that to be brought to the next meeting, if possible, for discussion. I'd like to have a vote on that as a proposal to bring that to this committee for the next meeting.
Well, we can look at that when we look at the forward plan, but Matthew's actually put a link to the document in the chat bar. For those non-members, we have a chat bar that runs on the side of our screens, where members and officers can put comments, and that is just simply a link to that document. Okay, any other? I think that's all we've got for speaking, I think. And Councillor Lacey Clark's just mentioned the fact that that 20-mile policy can't be brought forward until the national policy has been reviewed and reset. Okay, moving on to Sorry, I can't. My other screen's locked up. Moving on to the recommendation, then we need to do this just to clear that recommendation. If I can pull the thing up. Just bear with me. My mouse has decided to die, so I've got to do it with my finger on my other screen. Right, the recommendation: the Place and Resources Overview Committee support the following action in line with the decision of the Highways and Transport Task and Finish groups, who are obviously working on these policies, and adoption of the revised policies listed in the report. So we're looking at the adoption of those two policies, so the portfolio holder can move them forward. Are there any dissenters to that recommendation? Right, we've got a proposal from Councillor Gisberson. Because formally we need a seconder.
I'm happy to second, Chair.
Seconded by Councillor Fryer. So that is carried if we have no dissenters. Thank you. Right, moving on to agenda item 8, which is our committee forward plan. Right. We have a number of items already in train on that plan. Obviously, the comment on the first one is the Dorset Highways policies. There are multiple policies which will need certainly more work than just moving a deletion and insertion of words. So that's ongoing, and I know Mike Westwood is working hard at a lot of those policies.
Chair, you've got a request to speak from Councillor Jones.
Councillor Jones. Hello. Councillor
Sorry.
Jones?
That's it, right, I'm there. Is it possible, I mean, we mentioned a little while ago about sort of fumes, climate change and so on. Can we bring in somewhere the areas that have no access to electric car charging points?
We can certainly look at that. I was going to move on earlier on the actual forward plan. There are areas there which talk about climate change, but I was reluctant to put dates to those and move them forward until the scrutiny committee has had a chance to look at the consultation results and move forward that sort of policy, so we know where we are. We can certainly put it on the list.
Yeah, if we could, because there are places with a lack of grid capacity and people that would love to go electric but simply can't because they have nowhere to charge, and I think that should be something we look at as a council.
Yeah, I think scrutiny have got grid capacity, because we mentioned that a few times in the last couple of meetings. They've got that in hand, okay. I'm sure. So I think that will follow on from the charging points and the rest of it. I think until scrutiny have reviewed the consultation results and reviewed the new policy, and that's when we get it to have our bite of the cherry.
Okay, all right. Thanks, Darren.
Chair, you got a request from Matthew Piles and then Councillor Ray Bryant.
Yeah, okay, if we just hang on then, let me just finish what I was going to say about this forward plan. We have been asked to put the Weymouth Harbour and Esplanade Flood and Coastal Risk Management Strategy outline case, it's a mouthful, to our June the 1st meeting. I can't see any issues with doing that, so I just want to make sure committee are basically aware and are happy that we add that to June the 1st. So it's the Weymouth Harbour and Esplanade Flood and Coastal Risk Management Strategy coming to us on the 1st of June. We have the Dorset Council website and customer platform coming to our August meeting. Just to again update members, I've seen the tree policy, which is in draft. Excellent policy. I've asked for a couple of additions, so that hopefully will be coming to us in the near future. We have the others on the list, which are at the bottom of the programme. Reset and recovery items require review. If you come down another page, please. That's the ones. We have that list there, which we need to review. I would say, looking at the second item on the page, you can see in front of you, the economy 4. That's the support for visitor economy and prepare for 2021. Well, obviously, we're in 2021. DC are really obviously doing the work anyway. It's nothing stopped because it's waiting to come to committee. And as a note, we've agreed that update on the project will come to us on the June the 1st meeting as well. So June the 1st is looking fairly busy. So that's been taken care of. There is a digital issue there, which is a very topical subject about the future plans for reintroducing business as usual. And again, I want members to have a think about where that fits and whether that should come perhaps together with that economy 4 item. And any other thoughts you have on adding items to the forward plan? So open doors, really. We have Carol, we dealt with you, didn't we? Yeah. Matthew Powers.
So, sorry, should let the portfolio member go first, Daryl?
Is he there? I can't see him.
Councillor Bryan is actually just underneath me.
Is he?
Rephrase
Bryan, underneath Mr. Powers.
Get myself into all sorts of trouble today. Thank you, Chairman. I just wanted to put Councillor Jones' mind at rest. We've started the electric vehicles. We've still got some way to go. One of my concerns at the moment is there's a big move towards hydrogen vehicles coming through. I attended a meeting only last week where hydrogen was very much the buzzword because it's going to be so much easier to adapt. Car manufacturers are already looking at it now. So we need to make sure whatever is the method of power that we as Dorset Council provide as many facilities as we possibly can, but obviously in partnership with other stakeholders. Thank you, Chairman.
Yeah, thank you, Ray. I think that, yeah, hydrogen is really on the high up on the agenda at the moment. It really is, even down to things like domestic boilers, in fact. So it's the buzz at the moment, and I do wonder if we flood the whole of Dorset with charging points we no longer need in the future, that could cause issues in itself. Right, Matthew.
Sorry, Chair, just to confirm that the paper on energy will be going to scrutiny for the scope. That's the start of the piece of work, which is linked to the local plan, and we will then probably come to overview in the future.
Excellent, thank you.
Lindsay next, Chair.
Lindsay.
Thank you, Chairman. Just to add, because there was an additional item that wasn't included in your forward plan when the papers were published. So the one additional item, in addition to the one you've mentioned on Weymouth Harbour, is an item on street naming and numbering policy, which it's proposed to bring to the 1st of June meeting if the committee are content.
Yep, sorry I missed that, I must confess. Yeah, I've got no issues with it. I don't think any members would. So we've got 4 quite substantial items to come forward to June the 1st. So it'll be a lot busier meeting. So that's excellent news. Are members content with that? I can't see any issues. Well, they wouldn't be. Yeah, thank you. Any other issues?
Yeah, Councillor Roland Tarr would like to speak.
Councillor Tarr.
Sorry to interrupt again. About electric cars, my last holiday before lockdown was in Norway, and electric cars do not solve the problem because you've still got cars, you've still got them killing people, you've still got people too lazy to walk to work half a mile away and so on. So it doesn't solve the problem. It's just like to put that thought into people's minds. The second thing is that I think parking in Dorset, not the car parks that the County Council owns, but the general parking situation is still total chaos. We have the worst parking arrangements in our towns that I know of anywhere I've been in the last 5 or 6 years. Everywhere else, if you park on the street, you pay money. You dial it in on your phone, or if you're a local person or an elderly person, you have a permit which gives you right to park in that place outside your house or in your town at your market. And our parking policy should come up for review, not immediately, obviously we've just adjusted it, but it should be included in the forward plan at some stage.
Yeah, thank you, Roland. I'm aware that on-street parking is being looked at, or has been looked at over the last few months. So that's in train, I'm sure.
We're missing millions of pounds of income.
Yeah, no, as a local member, I've just identified a place that we're looking at currently in Lyme Regis. So I think it's up to individual members if they know of a place that has a potential for on-street parking or other parking, then yeah, speak to the lead member or the portfolio holder.
I think it's linked to our digital change because the whole key is it's digital, not people pushing money into machines, because that's a much too expensive way of doing things. And the old people who can't manage a digital, they can go and buy their permit locally in their post office or their library or wherever we decide to dispense them.
Yeah, that opens up a whole new chain of thought. But yeah, thank you for that comment. Councillor Lacey Clark. Are you there, Knock?
Thank you, Chairman. I am. So I just had to unmute myself. Before I go to what I wanted to say, I just want to come back quickly on Councillor Tarr's point and just clarify that not everyone that drives half a mile to work is lazy. Some people require the ability to drive to work. They have no choice. So I just wanted to put that down there because I was uncomfortable with that wording. But what I wanted to say was for reset and recovery. I know you have a lot of stuff on your June the 1st meeting already. But the prioritisation and kind of quick relook at the outcomes from the previous report is now almost completed, and I expect to be in contact with all the chairmen of overview and scrutiny to work out where we can place these on the forward plan. So I imagine there will be at least one part coming to the June meeting if you could possibly fit it in, but we'll discuss that separately. But I wanted to update you and let you know that we're about a week and a half, 2 weeks away from having that meeting where we can start booking them in. Yeah,
as you're aware, we actually divvied up all the items relating to the reset and recovery EAP and the minutes of their previous meetings to the various committees. They do sit on a long list at the end of the forward plan without dates. That's really good that we get the dates on those items. Excellent, thank you. No problem. Councillor Jones.
Thank you. Sorry to come back. I really would just like to see whether we can move the Wheels to Work scheme up a little bit. It's just so important to get people to have access to jobs they can actually get to if they don't drive. And the previous scheme did have a decent sum of money left in the account it was happy to hand over, and I'm rather worried that it will have given it away or done something with it. And I just would like to see that moved up if we possibly can.
Yeah, thank you, Carol. It's something we used to do at the County Council many years ago, supply various forms of transport. Is there any comment, Matthew or Ray? Are we looking at this issue?
So if I may, Chair, yes, we are. So what's quite interesting as listening to is a number of policies are being discussed that we are looking at already and will be coming to overview in the coming months. I think, if I may, Chair, I just need to reflect on some of the language of some of the items that you've got in your forward plan, to put some suggestions for you. But we will pick up all of the issues that have been raised by members.
Thank you for that, Matthew. I must say that within the forward plan there, the page you can see on the screen, those last three items are climate related. And again, I just reiterate that I was reluctant to put them anywhere until scrutiny have done their job. It's just the issue with sorry, Carol, the Wheels for Work, and we are moving those forward, are we, Matthew?
Yes, we are, Chair. I'm in discussion with Councillor Lacey Clark on that issue, so we'll pick it up outside the meeting. Okay.
It's interesting because it brings up an issue, to be honest, because I know there's a huge amount of really good work going on in the background, but members aren't aware of that work, and therefore this is why these sorts of questions are raised. So I don't know quite. Perhaps we can have a sort of discussion afterwards and with Ray to see if there's any way we can probably a train or a list of issues that are being dealt with that members can just look at, and just to see that they are in train. Not any more information than that really, but the fact that they are being looked at, as most things are, to be fair. Thank you.
Chair, Councillor Carol Jones is next, please.
We just had Councillor Jones.
No, it's not me, it's Val Pothecary.
Yeah, Val afterward. Apologies.
Val.
Thank you, Val Pothecary, Gillingham Ward. I just want to reiterate what Councillor James has said. I think the bringing forward of cheap and affordable Wheels to Work really helps our economy and the environment and everything else. So if that could be moved up the agenda, it would be very much appreciated. Thank you.
I think both the portfolio holder and Matthew and John Selgren's there in the background anyway, have listened to the discussion this morning, and that sort of thing can be moved up, I'm sure. Whoever, Matthew,
there's no one else waiting to speak at the moment, Chair.
Yeah, Councillor Bryant, portfolio is happy to do so. So we've got confirmation of that, Carol. So that's that's being looked at. Any other questions on that forward plan? We've moved quite a bit up into the June meeting, we'll be looking at moving some of these other issues into the next August meeting. But again, as Councillor Lacey Clark mentioned, there's a lot of stuff in train. So I'm happier now about populating our forward plan in the next couple of months. Certainly better than we have done in this last 12 months. So, Councillor Fry.
Yeah, just looking at considering the August meeting, I mean, I wonder whether people will be around or on holiday. Will that meeting still take place, or will have enough people to be on that meeting?
August, we have 31st of August. It's right at the end of that month. It has been put in the diary for some time now, so I'd hope we'd at least be correct anyway. So, but no, it's in the diary, and thanks for the comment. But I think that will remain as is.
I just envisage people might want to go on holiday. They've been locked up for a long time and they'll be trying to get away whenever they can. But that was just a comment to raise now.
No, it's a fair comment. If members could consider that, to be honest, and if there are any likelihood that large numbers of us will be away, then it'd be worth getting that information to us as soon as possible so that adjustments may be made if they're required. So anybody going away 31st of August, please let us know.
I think I'll just draw your attention to Councillor Lacey Clark's comments in the bar.
I was just going to say the same thing, Mr. Chairman. What is this holiday?
Again, for people who can't see the chat bar, Councillor not Lacey Clark did put a comment in there about didn't think councillors were allowed to take holiday. I won't comment. I really won't comment on that. I can't, but it's there. Thank you. Okay, if that's the forward plan looked at, we've certainly got enough for our next meeting. There's no doubt about that, and there will be more for the meetings. I'm just going to our committee clerk, Lindsay. Are you content you've captured most of those changes and additions?
Yes, I think so. There's certainly a few items we will need to pick up in discussion with officers after the meeting, but yep. I think we're clear in terms of the June meeting at least.
That's excellent. Thank you very much. Right, we will move on. Item 9 is urgent items, and there are no urgent items. Item 10 is exempt business, and you'll be pleased to know there is no exempt business. So we've done our bit today. We have drifted from the subjects, but I think it's been an interesting discussion and well worth having. So I will duly close the meeting at 10:42, and thank you for attendance.
Thank you, Chair.